So first of all, thank you very much for the invitation. It's a pleasure to be with all of you and try to present and also discuss about the European perspective when it comes to fire safety. First of all, who we are. Fire Safe Europe is the European association representing companies and professional organizations that aim to improve fire safety in buildings. And we do it at European level. We are based in Brussels, so we try to make the European institution understand how important is fire safety. Strong partnership, many members coming from the corporate world, from different sectors. As you can see, how we work, we have a board of directors that sets the strategy. The task force are responsible for the technical support, and then there is us, the secretariat, that is responsible for the implementation. We are living today an historical moment for European building policies. As you may be aware, we have the European Green Deal, the renovation wave, the national recovery plans after the pandemic, the digitalization of the internal market. So the idea is that the built environment has to become greener, that we need to accelerate the renovation rate of the built environment, that the construction sector has to become more sustainable, and that the recovery after the pandemic has to go through a better built environment for the people and society. As a consequence, we see the revision of different crucial legislation, the Energy Performance of Buildings Directive, the Energy Efficiency Directive, the Construction Products Regulation that are today under revision. And the question is whether these legislative changes are going to affect fire safety. And the answer is yes, because sustainable buildings are fire safe. First of all, because fires have social, environmental, and economic consequences. You can think about pollution of soil, pollution of water. You can also think about how much money we are putting with the recovery plans to renovate the built environment. And so we are using also taxpayer money for that because, you know, there are subsidies, fiscal incentives, and what if then the building burns down? The second issue is that with the revision of this legislation and with all the aims of the European Union in terms of decarbonization, we are moving towards more electrification. You can think about heat pumps, solar panels, recharging points for sustainable mobility, batteries. And whether these solutions are good for decarbonization, they also bring new and more fire risks. There are also possibilities that are linked to circular economy. What about recuperating the products from the buildings, and whether this is possible or not, for example, when a building burns down? What is the residual performance of reused materials and also recycled materials? These are important questions that we need to ask ourselves. And then, of course, linked to the revision of the Construction Products Regulation, we also know how it is important to have the right standards when it comes to fire safety. Then the question is whether this is recognized or not in this new building policies, whether fire safety is recognized as an important pillar of sustainability in these new policies. And of course, we try to do our best to integrate this concept, but it's always a kind of patchwork of work, and it's always done ex post and not ex ante. So the real challenge there is that we should have a systemic approach when it comes to the integration of fire safety into this European legislation. And in order to do that, we believe that we need a European fire safety strategy in which we will have a kind of holistic approach when it comes to the integration of fire safety in all relevant policies of the European Union. The second issue concerns subsidiarity. What is subsidiarity? Subsidiarity is the concept that the European Union will intervene in policies only when it has specific competence. And the issue with fire safety is that fire safety is usually considered as a kind of national competence. That we don't disagree with that principle, but we also believe that more can be done by the European Union. Can we still talk about subsidiarity when we have all these policies that have an impact on the fire safety of our buildings? Do we need subsidiarity on every issue? I have some answers on this. I will show it in the next slide. And also we need more concerted actions between the different spheres that are touched by the topic of fire safety. It means European Union member states, the civil society, and our sector, the fire safety sector. So when it comes to give an answer on my question on subsidiarity, we believe that the European Union should coordinate more what is going on at the national level. First of all, in terms of data, we still struggle to have good data when it comes to fire safety. And this is due to the fact that there is no harmonization on the data collection, on the methodology that are used in the different member states. And when you don't have good data that you can compare, it is difficult then to have informed public decision making. Second of all, the public administration that are responsible for implementing fire safety, supervising fire safety, issuing tenders for public buildings, they need to be better trained when it comes to the respect of fire safety requirements. And on this, the European Union could play an important role in terms of capacity building. Training and education as well, very important topic. And there, I think the coordination of the European Union can play a fundamental role. We also need increased funding for fire safe renovations. Today, we are seeing a lot of fiscal incentives and subsidies for renovation as a follow-up, if you want, of the national recovery plans. But whether this is going to target fire safety, this is a big question and a big issue. The same goes on our research and development for fire safety. In terms of climate resilience, we have climate changes there, and which will always be more present. Yeah. The thing is that we will have more and more fires in the future, unlikely because of more heat waves in the future. We need also to explore what are the opportunity that a performance-based assessment of fire safety can do. In this sense, we need to explore the possibility of fire safety engineering. We also need to offer better technical assistance to citizens. So we see an increasing number of one-stop shops that are kind of point centers in which the citizens can get information on how they can renovate their house in terms of technical methods, but also funding opportunities. We also need to make sure that the people in the one-stop shops understand fire safety, can advise on fire safety when it comes to technical assistance, but also funding. Renovation passport. The European Union is preparing the renovation passports that are kind of roadmaps issued to citizens that will describe what are the main steps that a tenant or a building owner has to follow in order to improve the quality of its house. We need also to have advice on how they can renovate in a fire-safe way. As I was saying before, electrification puts more and diverse fire risks, and we need to offer technical assistance to citizens that want to go for this, the solutions. So for heat pumps, photovoltaics, charging points, and batteries. Finally, what we need, in our opinion, is a stronger cooperation of fire safety stakeholders on common interests. The integration of fire safety into sustainability concept. We need to assess what we can do in terms of fire rating schemes, what we can do in terms of circular economy. We need joint projects on digitalization so that we can exploit the means of digitalization to have a kind of dynamic and holistic assessment of the buildings, especially when it goes to renovation. We need more technical efforts in the standardization field, and we need to act as a unique sector when it comes to policy calls for action. on the current and future EU building policies to make sure that fire safety is duly considered. Thank you very much.